Well, the main press set is over now. Of course, it is Joshua Helenius, but I just would like to know, Eddie, on a scale of like 0 to 10, 0 being a really miserable week, 10 being brilliant, what's it been like this week?
10. Brilliant.
There you go.
There's no business like show business. I think the thing is, you honestly become a bit numb to it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like what we went through over the last year with Conor Benn, I got the news and genuinely, I just went, oh my God. And it was like...
This was early Saturday morning.
Yeah, early Saturday morning. I was actually on the East Coast, so I got it late Friday night. And it was just like, I can't believe it. But then what are you going to do about it? Like you either moan or you crumble to the floor and like make bad decisions and end up not having a show on. My immediate concern was Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
What is he going to think? Like, is he going to go and think, do you know what? I can leave it. I've trained for Dillian White. It's not meant to be. I'll just have a couple of weeks off and we'll go back to camp. And it was, mate, I want to fight. Don't care who it is.
Yeah.
He feels great. Like I'm not just saying it, but the camp, mentally, everything. Like he's really ready to fight. And everything changes. No pay-per-view, which is great news for the subscribers, but obviously not great news for AJ and me sometimes. But we also understand that if it's not a big name fight, maybe it's not pay-per-view. And now you've got a huge heavyweight card and I think a good fight still as part of your subscription on DAZN. And he was adamant to fight, and we wanted to make it happen. And I like this. I like the opponent, respectful, but a big lump. First time AJ's been in with someone anywhere near his size, and he's bigger.
It's not often you're the little fella in the middle, is it?
I know.
Small.
Do you know how many people I get stopped me in the street and go, "Wow, you're so much taller than I thought," because they see me next to AJ.
Yes.
Not much fun for us.
By the way, Helenius is 6'9".
Yeah, he's a giant.
AJ must be up there because there's not a lot of difference. Do you know what I mean?
Ed, do you know what? It's not me being a fanboy, which people will accuse you of. But in the press conference, then he said straight away, obviously, he fought the matchroom team, but he said something that a lot of fighters would really love to hear. I fought the undercard fighters. That was genuine, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He wants to make sure they get out. Yeah.
And he knows.
Only a fighter knows.
Look, I had a lot of fighters message me. Maisie Rose messaged me about 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And she weren't asking me how I felt. She was thinking, I've trained for 12 weeks and I've probably spent a couple of grand.
They're relying on that payday to payday,
I'm behind.
Yeah, totally.
I don't get paid. I'm behind.
Yes, yeah.
So, this is just a quick message to all the people, individuals and companies that sponsor fighters, particularly local companies. Like you really make the difference between a fighter being able to focus on their career, not having to go to work. That 500 quid, £1,000 a month, £2,000, whatever it is that you're helping out a fighter with, trust me, like that is absolutely like golden for them. And you do have to think about the undercard fighters, but this is an AJ decision because he's gone from making this to fight Dillian White to something very different, and it would have been easy for him to go, no, actually, but and of course he has money now, so it's not all about the money, it's about preparing himself for the Wilder fight. And by the way, if you look good against Deontay Wilder, we'll stick the price up. I mean, if you look good on Saturday, we'll stick the price up for the Wilder fight. We'll get it back that way.
But on that, there's a certain amount of pressure on AJ now. Obviously, you're getting ready for the White fight. Helenius comes in. He boxed last weekend. He comes in, and there's a lot of people. I know Carl Froch's been saying it. A lot of people have been saying, he's got to make a statement now. He's got to be 4 rounds. He's got to stop. He's got to get him out of there. You can't be messing around with this fella. For that so again, I know we know what happened with Andy Ruiz as well. But it's tough mentally, though, isn't it?
Look, last time someone failed a drugs test against AJ, Jarrell Miller. Fight fell through, last minute replacement, I know it's 3 weeks that time, Andy Ruiz. Lost the fight. That week, everyone was talking about Deontay Wilder. I mean, the similarities are frightening. But you learn, as what I said before, you learn from the experience. And I don't think AJ will make the same mistake. I like the style matchup for AJ. We all know he's better against taller stand-up heavyweights than a shorter guy that comes in. And that was probably the problem with the Franklin. I don't think the Franklin performance was bad, but he just couldn't nail him clean. I think the style was awkward for him, but whatever. But I think Helenius, although can whack and will let his hands go, and the reason he got knocked out quickly against Wilder is because he let his hands go. He came in and he was aggressive and he got hit by a shot that would have taken a horse out. So don't worry about trying to do it quick. Just showcase your improvements. And honestly, him and Derek now, they're really gelling. Like for a long time, AJ's been looking for that replacement for Rob McCracken, who he can put his trust into and just listen. When things aren't going your way, look into his eyes in the corner, listen, believe in him. That's where he struggled, and I think he's getting that now.
I genuinely believe the opponent, considering the circumstances, listen, if it would have been however many weeks ago, no, but a week's notice, I think he's the best possible realistic opponent. I've said that. I put it out there. If Helenius wouldn't have been available, is there a great chance the show would have been cancelled? I know AJ wanted to fight, but...
No, I think we would have found someone. I mean, look, we had, before Dillian Whyte accepted the fight, which we didn't actually think he would, Ajit Caballero and Helenius had both agreed terms. When this fight got cancelled, we went back to both those guys straight away. Ajit Caballero doubled his money that he asked for. I understand, it's a week to go. Helenius asked for more, but not as much more as Caballero was asking for. And by the way, he was actually fight ready. Caballero's been ticking over, but not the same, you know. I think we would have found someone. Gerald Washington, you know, I don't know, Manuel Char came on, he wanted a load of money. Like, but we were, you know, we were fortunate enough. And also, you have to make a decision at that point. Which team do you trust to sign the contract and get on the plane tomorrow?
It had to be
and
that
I
quick.
knew Helenius' team. I know Helenius as an individual. He's a proper gent, and he's a real fighter. And I knew that once he accepts that fight, he ain't mucking around. He's getting on the plane, he's turning up, he's doing his media obligations, and we're moving forward, you know. And I like the opponent. I think he'll come to fight. He'll definitely try to win. And he can whack a little bit as well.
And just with the card as well, I mean, Ant made the point. Obviously, AJ made the point as well. It isn't just the two guys at the top of the bill that are going to suffer if an event is cancelled. We wanted our trip to London as well.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's important for everybody.
Does.
But everybody does. And I mean, the undercard that you mentioned. But again, pick out then what you expect in terms of highlights on the undercard.
I love the undercard. I mean, firstly, Campbell Hatton's in a good little fight. You know, now stepping up to at least guys who have boxed for area and English titles. I love Johnny Fisher against Harry Armstrong, because Harry Armstrong's a decent heavyweight. He's been thrown in a couple of times, late notice, particularly against Jamie TKV. But if you watch that fight, slipping shots well, you know, quite intelligent, moments. Good engine. He weren't even fit for that fight. Now, he's had 8 weeks. Do you know what I mean? And he's fighting in front of 17,000 people. So, how is, you saw with Matty Harris recently, how is Johnny Fisher going to be after 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rounds when he's been loading up for the first 3 rounds? But can Harry Armstrong handle the power? Love Filip Hrgović against Dempsey McKean. The winner gets Usyk or Dubois. Hrgović has been long talked about as an undoubtable world champion. But he's been inactive. And sometimes you can kind of wait too long, like your career can pass you by. 10 years ago, he was over here sparring with Hay and Wilder, and they were all saying, this guy, I'm telling you, he's unbelievable. Dempsey McKean, he's awkward. He's got a good engine. He's never boxed at that level, but if he can get through 3 or 4 rounds, he'll be well in the fight. And then Chisora Washington, I have absolutely no idea. I mean, it's a complete 50-50 fight. Washington looks unbelievable, doesn't he? I mean, he's 43 years old, but looks he's ripped to shreds. And Malik Scott actually messaged me when Dillian Whyte fight fell through and said, listen, Gerald is in brilliant shape. Like, we've trained really hard for this fight, but he hasn't boxed for 18 months. He's coming off 2 defeats. I just didn't feel like he was the right guy. And I wanted to see the Chisora fight. I've no idea. Washington's going to get on his bike. Chisora's going to have to try and walk him down.
You don't know what Derek's going to say.
I know. I'm sitting there thinking, look, when we just wrap this up right now.
Ed, finally from me. Obviously now there's been news breaking out recently about Conor Benn. He's going to be back boxing soon. How realistic do you think, or could you give us a rough time when he's going to be out, and if it's going to be on these shows, or there's a great chance we see him over in America?
I really want it in Britain. You know, I want him to get a British Boxing Board control licence. We'll go through that process. I think that Tony, having been out for 18 months and having been through what he's been through, I think Tony would probably like him to have not a warm-up fight.
Just to get him out.
Yeah. And then go again quickly after. Conor wants the biggest fight possible. He's sunk a fortune into this, you know, to clear his name. And he wants to fight ASAP. And he wants the biggest fight out there. But I do think
a possibility.
I think Kell Brook is the fight. You know, whether that's straight away or whether that's a couple of months later. You know, he could go end of September and then fight again in December against Kell Brook. But I like the fight. It's a crossroads fight. I think it's a 50-50 fight. You know, Conor now has been floating around. Obviously, he's a welterweight who was going to fight a middleweight. He has to bring himself back to 147 if he wants to fight there. I'm not sure how easy that's going to be. Certainly not for September, October. And Kell Brook ain't making 147 in a million years. So maybe that's a fight at 152, 153, 154. But it's a great fight. Great fight. And I can't wait to see Conor back.
The very final one then, very, very quickly, your prediction for AJ Helenius, what happens?
I think it might be cagey early on. Like, Helenius is very tall and, you know, he's got a good jab himself and he can whack with the right hand. So I think he's got to be a little bit careful. But I do think AJ will detonate on his chin at some point. I think when he does, I think he'll take him out. As smart as Helenius is at times and as awkward as he can be, I think when he gets hit hard on the chin, he's susceptible. And I think AJ will find the shot, and I think he'll knock him out inside 6 rounds.
Eddie, thank you very much indeed.
Hope so.
Cheers, Ed.